Greetings, everyone. Peace, love, light, and unity to you all. Today, we are going to have an elf talk on a very fun discussion about sort of a stereotype that has been going around society and the idea that all women like the bad boys, which is not true because I have my elven sister here with me, and I am Kimber'el Eventide, and I have
Erulisse.
here with me to discuss how we actually really have always been drawn to nice men. And Tolkien really had a lot of really nice men characters. And I think that that's something that made them so appealing to a lot of women. I mean, how many women just wanted to marry Legolas? And how many women fell in love with Aragorn? There's a reason behind that. So we want to work really hard today to dispel the myth of the idea that all women are attracted to the bad boy. Because I'll tell you something about the bad boy. The bad boy means that you're either in trouble with the law or you're in trouble with your exes. So we do not want that baggage actually as women. So certain women, they might be attracted to that because it depends on where they are emotionally and where they are ready to love themselves and really receive the true attention that they deserve. So we really want to analyze all of the really great men in Tolkien today. So I'm just going to just give a little bit of an introduction to Erulisse so she can tell you a little bit about how we met. And she's also an author of an online story, and she has a lot of different types of elven men characters in her book. So it's really exciting to have her on. So take it away.
Magavanen. I'm Erulisse. Um, I met Kimber'el sometime it was around sometime last year, correct?
I think it was last year. Yep.
We instantly connected. I'm a former admin of the Facebook page I Am an Elf, and we just once we met and we connected, and it was just this bond that sparked between us. And now we are adminning together on the Elven Light Path Facebook group, and we would absolutely love if you joined us. We would love to get to know all of you. I'm currently finishing up actually my online story, The Quest, which can be found on Wattpad, and it helps. It's a fictional story, and it's also a fan fiction, and it follows along with a fellowship and Legolas and a romance, and it also delves deeper into the different types of elven men as well as romance relating to the elves, and just I love it because it can help with the topic that we're talking about today, to dispel the stereotype that women want the bad boys, we want the macho men, we want that, because we don't always.
Right. I agree. So let's start out with actually your story, and then we'll get into Lord of the Rings. Because I know that you have modeled a lot of your online writing, and like you said, you're kind of following Legolas's future. So tell us a little bit about, how you write Legolas as a character, and what kind of character traits does he have and qualities?
With Legolas, he's such an interesting character, and similar to how a lot of people automatically put a brand on Thranduil, his father. A lot of people do the same for Legolas. You hear a lot of like the Captain Obvious, or just how soft he is, but there's so many different layers to the character, and that's what I love about all of Tolkien's characters. Is there's not just a simple word or title or brand you can put on one. And in the quest, I've delved deeper, especially going into his future, past, into the appendices, and just further on into his life, with marriage and romance and love, and eventually fatherhood. And this is a character that I've been studying and really have grown to know over the years. So I'm pretty confident in my own adaptation of him. Um, but the way for his character traits, he has a balance. I believe that's the only way I can describe it. Almost a little off topic, but if you have ever seen the Star Wars films, how there's a balance in the Force with all these characters, especially the Elven men. There's a balance with them, with the masculinity and the softness and the gentleness, you know, and the strength, and all of those combine to make this authentic, true, nice guy character.
Absolutely. I completely agree, because I actually made a video on that, how the Elven, even the Elven women too, but Elven men and Elven women, they always carry a balance of masculine and feminine. And I think that's what we love about the characters so much within the Lord of the Rings, is that you see exactly what you said. It's just this really nice balance. And that is actually what gives them this really peaceful kind of demeanor, because there's not an excess of being too yin or too yang. And there's this really nice kind of calmness about them, because they're centered. They're centered beings. And the Elven men are completely like how you described. And I think that that can be very attractive to a lot of women that are centered themselves, or have at least kind of found that kind of balance within themselves. They're going to be really attracted to that. And not just that he is balanced, but that the masculine and the feminine side, they're the nice qualities. You know,
Exactly.
it's never the negative, kind of the extreme side of masculinity, which is almost dominating in our society, in which we have men that feel that they have a role, you know, to dominate women and to put them in their place and all of that. And you still see a little bit of that today. And I'm really hoping that in the future that will definitely go away. But an Elven men would never do that to their Elven women. And you can tell how Legolas is in that way. One of the myths that I definitely want to talk about is the idea that nice men don't have enough confidence, or they're not authentic. So I saw a video on how Infinite Waters talked about it, that nice men can scare women sometimes because they can come off inauthentic. And I have not really experienced that. I don't really know exactly where he is coming from, but possibly he has spoken to women that see it that way. But I just want nice men in the world right now to know that that's not how all women would see niceness. Now, if you are not sincere and actually genuine in your niceness, and you put on, you know, sheep's clothing on top of a wolf, of course, the woman intuition in us is absolutely going to see through that. You will be creepy. You will be scary, because we'll be able to see past that facade that you have. But if you are actually a genuine nice guy that really just wants to enjoy a relationship and, you know, connection with a woman, then, you know, that is something that's actually very attractive to a lot of women. Because for my younger days, when I was in my dating time, I was very, very upset to find that it was kind of the social norm where men would play kind of hard to get. And they would play hard to get rather than I would. I mean, I would be very open with my emotions, and, you know, I definitely would not be too open where I would scare them, but I wouldn't be afraid of jumping into love. I was never really afraid, because I always felt that that was a strong purpose in my life, was to feel that connection with someone. And the bad guys that everybody always says that is more attractive, actually, they just cause anxiety in women. I mean, because you're waiting around, waiting to see if they text you back, and if they're ever going to call, or if they have stood you up on a date. That is the worst feeling in the world. So that is the bad guy that people are saying that women are attracted to. But you would have to be really in a place of maybe just not having enough self-esteem to actually really want that man, because I did not want that man, although I was still meeting that man, because I was experimenting and just kind of dating lots of different people, trying to, you know, learn a little bit about myself as a woman. But yes, definitely. I definitely agree with the whole balancing, because that is something that definitely a lot of men really truly need. So you have a lot of really wonderful notes for us. So what do you think about some of the men in Tolkien? You want to kind of jump right into that?
What I love about the men that Tolkien have created, that he birthed, I feel like he shows all of the different types of men. And there's this quote I heard, and I'm sure you might have heard it, Kimber'el, how, for example, Boromir is how men are, and Aragorn is portrayed like how men should be.
Yes, yes. I love that.
Mm.
That is beautiful, actually, because to me, that's actually the true divine masculine, not
Mhm.
the fake divine masculine, is, or not even divine, but not the fake masculinity, but actually the divine masculine. That's very true. Yeah, I can see that.
Yes. And how some men, you know, and as much as I love Boromir, because of course I love all of the characters Tolkien's crafted, but you can see the weak side that, not saying that men are weak, but the weakened side where men have their temptation,
Mhm.
their natural temptation, and how Aragorn, also man, was able to overcome the same temptation.
Such an important thing in this day and age, right? Where temptation gets the better of a lot of people, and there's this kind of casualness where it's become kind of okay for people to kind of cheat on one another. And that is kind of the MO of a bad boy,
Mhm.
that he would have a lot of different women on the side. And that's not attractive. I mean,
Yeah.
that is very painful for a woman to go through. And
Mhm.
so if you are a younger woman and you feel attracted to the bad boys around you, just know that, you know, there's a certain type of edge that a man can have. And that's more what Aragorn had, where he had courage and he had this kind of stamina and the ability to be very forthright with his words and just, putting himself out there on the line for to save lives and also in love with Arwen. And he also could wield a sword. So that always helps.
Yeah. He was very, very driven. But in with Aragorn, he was just so noble, and it's just such an admirable, characteristic. Like, even in the films, with his scenes with Eowyn, he didn't necessarily lead her on. You know,
Right. Yeah.
he told, he cared about her, of course, but his heart laid with another woman, with Arwen, and for him to easily let her go
Yes. That
was
was
something that I've
beautiful.
always loved, instead of leading her on, or taking advantage. Like, that was it's so, just the nobility really speaks, and that's something that men don't. It's more admirable to do something like that than to lead another woman on, or to play the bad boy, or those type of stereotypes that society tries to put on men, that makes them more desirable by not calling back, or by I guess being the player.
Yeah. Hmm. Yes. I mean, if you are a man right now watching and you're the type of man that's very loyal to every woman that you get involved with, please know that that is one of the most attractive things. And only a woman, like I said, that doesn't have the right type of level of self esteem and she feels like she doesn't deserve that type of man would not want that, because it really is, it's not really opposites. Well, opposites do attract each other, but
Mhm.
really what I have found with my own marriage is that it's really about a parallel vision of how to treat people, and that's really, really important. Because if you're a person in a relationship and you feel like you're very loyal and you want to give it all, and then you're going after a person that doesn't have that same kind of vision and cooperation with a person, that's not going to work. So you really have to match up to the person that has the same love language as you,
Yeah.
really demonstrates that. And the bad boy, like I said, the bad boy, that's a very heavy type of term, because when someone's like, "Ooh, he's such a bad boy,"
Mhm.
that has such a different type of spin on it within society. Sometimes people see that as very attractive and very sexy, but really, what makes him bad? Bad you have to look at the levels. I mean, the edginess, because let's be honest, Legolas has that kind of bad side to him. I mean, he can use that bow and shoot all the orcs in his view.
Fast as his father, that's for certain.
But he's a very noble person. You would never see Legolas, you know, basically taking advantage of someone. And like you said, it's that nobleness. And I believe that's because Tolkien was like that too. And when you read the letters of Tolkien, he said that he was definitely interested in a lot of women, and he would chase skirts, but he saw women as like shooting stars, and he really thought they were very deserving to be treated nicely, you know, to be treated as they deserved. And he ended up marrying his wife, and it was a very Aragorn Arwen relationship. But you can see that nobleness. Now, of course, you know, he was around during a time when, I mean, that is the sad thing about the old times, is that there was a certain type of demeanor and kind of respect that a lot of men and women had towards each other. And I'm hoping that we can get that back in the modern times. Maybe just a little bit of advanced technology, but we still would be able to get back that respect that we had in the 40s, you know, and so you can see that, like, you know, opening the car doors or putting your jacket down. But I know that there's a big issue. There's a big issue because the feminist movement has scared off a lot of men. So we also have men thinking that they can't do those kinds of things because they're afraid that then somehow it's making women feel, you know, smaller. But it's not really about that. It's about not being dominating, but being noble and loyal and courageous and strong, and also being confident. Because I have a story. When I was in high school, I really liked this kind of nerdy guy that a lot of girls were just not into, and they were just not attracted to. But there was something about him, and you know what it was? It was confidence. He had, I mean, he was like Jonah Hill. He reminded me a lot of Jonah Hill, the actor, but there was some type of confidence. He could walk into a room and you would never, ever think that he thought lowly about himself or that he felt like he couldn't get a woman in that way. He just had this really nice confidence about him, but he was also very friendly and very nice. And he took the time to get to know people and to, you know, get to know me. And we became really great friends. But then, you know, I started to kind of like him because he had this confidence about him, this air that I always appreciated. And I'm so glad that I met him because, you know, it kind of gave me a mirror to myself of what it was that I was really looking for in men. And it really is about confidence. It's not so much domination, because I don't like to be dominated, but I like confidence. And I think that that is one of the most attractive qualities. And all of Tolkien's men had that. You never really saw the lack of confidence. Oh, I don't know if I can do that, you know, and you know, you can sense that in somebody who doesn't believe in themselves. So belief in yourself is really important, men. Like you can definitely go after the woman that you like when you really truly believe in yourself and you gain that confidence and you really look at yourself as being the most unique guy on this planet. Nobody else is like you. And that's what you have to carry with you to keep inside your, you know, your heart. And I think that there's somebody for everybody. And so there's a lot of people that feel like, oh, only women like bad boys and they don't like nice guys like me. And that's not true. It's just that you do have to have that confidence that really brings a woman closer to you, because a woman wants to know that her man is confident and that he can take care of things.
Yes, absolutely. And to add on to that, just being on the same level of consciousness helps so much with that.
Yeah.
Because like with Aragorn, you know, he's somewhere between being on the path of, you know, higher consciousness in the shadow, while Legolas, on the other hand, is already on the higher consciousness path, being an elf. So seeing how there are so many different, and this goes for elven men and women as well as human women and men that are watching. Whenever you're looking for somebody, that confidence that you project, it will gravitate back to you. Just everything that you put out, it's going to come back. So always be, just confident in yourself. Know who you are. What level are you at? Where's your heart at? And for the men out there, you don't have to be the macho man. You don't have to be the punk, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Be the authenticity. Don't compliment for the sake of complimenting. Compliment because it's true and meaningful. Because like that video you shared with me as well, not all women do find the nice guys creepy. They don't. I can see on one end, on one spectrum, how you can, if you're constantly being inauthentic about your politeness or your niceness, it can come off a little strange. But whenever you're nice and it's your true self shining through, that's where women immediately seem to gravitate towards.
Absolutely. And if I can right now speak about Russell Brand, I've been watching him. I mean, he has really evolved a lot. He's
Mhm.
kind of taken himself away from the movies and Hollywood and has become almost like a spiritual teacher. I mean, he
Yeah.
really has in his own way, and he has a really wonderful channel, and I just love listening to him talk. But he, to me, has always been kind of an elven man, and in a lot of ways, um, he is on that higher consciousness level, and he has so much confidence within him. Um, so the other thing I want to say too is you can also have kind of, I think what is really nice is when you have a little bit of an edge to you. So kind of when you said punk, you said somebody, you said sometimes men can look like punks. So if you have a man that kind of looks a little dark, right? Like he has just a little bit of a darker image maybe,
Mhm.
or a little unique or alternative or something different about him. But if he's a nice man, that is probably the most ultimate attractive quality
Absolutely. Yeah.
because you're able to show yourself as having a little bit of an edge. You're
Mhm.
not trying to look very normal so that you fit into society, but you are expressing yourself as a very unique soul. But then you're also a good guy with a good heart. And Russell Brand is, to me, he's a good representation of that because he has a
Absolutely.
little bit of a rock star edge to him.
Mhm.
The way that he dresses and sometimes the way that he looks. Lately, he's been looking like the incarnation of Jesus Christ, but he, which is a good look for him. But he has always had a little bit of this kind of edge to him. But when you really actually listen to him, he's a good guy. I actually just finished watching his video on one night stands, and he actually was very honest about it. He said, "Oh, I used to do those a lot when I was immature or when I was just not ready for a commitment, and I really wasn't emotionally available for a woman." And I really wasn't able to connect with a woman on the way that I would like to in a kind of transcendent kind of way. And
Mhm.
so he said, one night stands can be really just a symbol for you for where you are at the time in your life. Like what phase are you at when you don't want to commit? But he's a really genuine, nice man. And so this whole idea where men kind of look at women and say, "Oh, they never would be attracted to me. I'm a nice guy. I want the best for people, and I just want to be nice to women." Well, I say keep on doing that, but also make sure you find your confidence. Maybe find a little bit of an edge to you where just make sure that you're always expressing yourself and that you're not ever feeling like you have to fit into society to be nice. Because
Exactly.
there is that way of looking nice or being nice where you have to fit into society, and you don't want to do that. You want to really kind of, be your own individual and stand out in your way. But still be a nice guy. And I think that
Mhm.
a lot of women can appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yes. It's almost I don't know why it came to me earlier when I was thinking about when we would sit down and have this conversation. a lot of the conversations I've had with other Elven men, especially through the Elven light path, as well as in real life, they have issues trying to find their partner, um, because of, they don't, because a lot of Elven men are softer, and they do, they have that balance between the softness and the masculinity strength side. But it's almost like if you stare, those magic paintings, those magic pictures that have the secret picture within them.
Oh,
Um,
magic eye. Yeah.
and if you're staring at them too long and you're trying so hard to find that picture, it's not going to pop out, until you look away, and you have to kind of clear yourself and clear your mind and clear what you've seen. And that's almost what you kind of have to do. Try to forget about the things that society has put on you and put in your head and put in your spirit. Just clear that out. And then when you look back, you'll be on another level of higher consciousness, and you'll be able to see the picture. You'll be able to relate to your possible spouse or someone that you're willing to court. And it's almost like a good meditation practice, just to remember that society does not, you do not have to put those chains or those stigmas on yourself just because society tells you to.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I think that that is a very attractive quality within Elven men and within any kind of man that kind of can appreciate nature, what you said, because that can kind of lend to a softness. If you're somebody that enjoys the sunset or you enjoy walks in the forest, some people can take that as being very soft. But really, to an Elven woman or to a woman that also is attracted to that nature, they would see that as a really attractive quality. So be sure to express that. I mean, if you want to take a woman on a date and you really want that kind of elvish type of woman that loves nature and can do a lot of outdoor activities with you and enjoy your life together in nature and just, just have that kind of mindset, then make sure that you take her on dates, get to know her in nature, and really explore together in that kind of way. And I think that, like exactly what you said, just make sure that you really are being authentic to yourself and you're really vibrating at your most authentic, unique type of level. And you will always attract somebody because there is truly a really kind of sad idea going around in the world, and I will be discussing that in another video. It is a myth about the universal beauty idea, where there's a certain type of look that's always attractive, and then if you don't have that look, you're not going to have as many partners. It's not about that. You see, because we come from this collective source, and we all are here to experience each other, both in love and connect in friendship. And when you are vibrating at a certain frequency, you're actually going to attract the perfect type of complementing frequency to you. When you are actually authentic to yourself, you're going to attract that person. So be a lighthouse. Shine that light out as a nice guy and actually be yourself. Enjoy nature. Be soft. Love poetry. Love music. Be emotional. Be, strong and noble and loyal. And be a nice guy and keep doing that. Don't ever make a woman that hurts you or doesn't appreciate that about you make you become something that you're not. Keep on that level. Keep that high vibration, because that is very high vibration. When you're living in those universal morals of loyalty, of honor, of nobility, of sensitivity and kindness and empathy, when you're living at those levels, you will attract that right mate to you. And there is absolutely no reason for any nice guy, and I do mean, when I say nice, really truly mean it. If you are going to say, well, I'm such a nice guy, why can't I meet women? Then you have to actually be that nice man and continue doing that. Don't let that event or that relationship or that woman who didn't appreciate you, or the man, if we're talking about homosexuality too, it doesn't matter here. Do not let someone else lower those vibrations. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do on my channel, is teach people that when events happen to you, if you keep your vibrations high, you will never be dragged down into those pits of, the emotional type of suffering that a lot of humans do in this world.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to just keep on going, nice men. I mean, you
Yes.
will be a beacon to a nice woman who is looking for a man with a heart of gold.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and recognize the strength within yourself, and that strength is not always, a stereotypical masculine strength. There is strength in the softness, and there is a duality, and there is just this beauty about it. And recognize it and show that, and just don't be afraid to be your authentic self. Definitely project it into the world.
Yeah, and vulnerability is actually a very attractive trait. Maybe some women might not be comfortable with a man being very vulnerable, but I think all of my relationships have always been with men that have been kind of emotionally vulnerable, because that's just what I do like. Like, I do like it when a man can tell me how much Lord of the Rings touches them, or
Mm-hmm.
how much um, they love a song with the lyrics that really mean something to them, or how beautiful that walk in the forest was and what did that mean to them. Be very vulnerable with your emotions, because women will appreciate that if they are truly looking for a connection with you and trying to develop something, because that is really about the real bond that people are trying to make with one another, is actually how do you connect emotionally, mentally, soul wise, spiritually. And so how you can only know is by actually being your authentic self, being as unique as you are, and just shining your light out like we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and you will attract the right person to you. But you make sure that you don't ever stoop down to the levels of others that are trying to drag you down and make you feel bad about yourself, or you really have to just stay there. If other people are going to affect you, you have to stay at that level of high consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really about just attracting that person to you who has that high confidence as well, and that high consciousness level.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I really just wanted to do this because I felt like there's a lot of men out there that kind of believe this society type of stereotype myth. And I was going through the comments on Infinite Waters video, and there was a lot of women were like, I like nice men. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't say all, he didn't really say all, but he did make it seem like it was a lot of women.
Mm-hmm.
And it really depends on where that woman is. I mean, I don't think there's any actual woman in this world, or anybody in this world, who actually wants a person that is mean to them or cruel to them, or wants to, you know, take their heart and mush it in a ball and
Mm-hmm.
throw it away. Nobody wants that. But we fall in love with the potential that we see in people sometimes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Precise.
And yeah, and the bad guy, a lot of times, is not really bad, but he presents himself that way because of what he's going through and some of the things that he needs to work on in his life. And when you can actually be with a person that is more secure of who they are in their core, where they can actually be courageous enough to be kind to others
Mm-hmm.
and not treat them badly, then that has a lot to say about where you are in your life.
Yes, it definitely does. It shows with the with the bad boys and that stereotype, and with their actions, it just shows where they are, especially on a spiritual level, where they're at. They if they've even awakened yet. And there's so and there we are going through a surge of spiritual awakeness, especially with the elves awakening right now. But it's like I've said before, it's so important to be on the same wavelength and trying to be on the same spiritual level as the person that you're looking to court or to date or any of those things. um but just trying to find your inner strength and softness and balancing that and being authentic. It just, oh, I'm trying to think of the word, how much it just helps shed a new light on your perspective,
Yeah. And
on
it's
your perspective, your self perspective.
and it's nicer to be with a person like that. I mean, it really is. So nice guys give a nice experience to people, you know, and like I said, the bad guy tends to give anxiety and insecurity to a woman. So why would we want that? We really don't. We want the edginess and we want the confidence and we want the uniqueness shining through, and we want a little bit of, you know, that kind of courageousness and that forthright in their words. But we definitely don't want a jerk. We don't want someone that actually is going to be cruel or unkind to others. That's really what we want to get away from in society, is to not glorify the bad boy in that kind of way, or at least to look at the bad boy in a different way. I have always managed to see the bad boy and in kind of a below the layer. Like I never really saw the bad boy as in his totality bad, but that there are some issues in his life that he hasn't resolved. I mean, yes, maybe he's doing some things that are illegal, you know, and kind of getting himself in trouble with the law. Or maybe he is, you know, treating women really badly, or men, or whatever he's choosing. I've never really seen the totality of a person as being bad, but I did see, well, that's an area, those are a few areas in your life that you need to work on. Actually, speaking about the bad boy, because I think a lot of people have this kind of idea about Thranduil very, very much being like a bad boy, kind of, especially in the movies. I mean, he was portrayed, I think, in a really nice way, but some women could maybe take that as him being like the bad boy. But when you get to actually read the story about him in The Hobbit, Thranduil, you actually find that no, he was actually known to be a generous and a very good king, you know, to his elven kingdom, and also to the traders within Breetown and within, you know, the of the humans that lived near Mirkwood. So he wasn't even a bad boy. And even though he had a little bit of like this kind of, I guess, a dramatic flair about him, and he was very confident, and of course that's very attractive, but he also seemed very loyal to a deceased wife that, I mean, he's never really found love again after her. How loyal does that show that he is, you know, in the idea that his heart he already gave to another woman. And you see that in his character. And I mean, that kind of makes him very tragic in a way, but it also shows that there's a real softness to him. And even though he had kind of like a steely exterior that a lot of women find very attractive, there's a really golden heart underneath that all.
Yes, that's where I believe his authenticity to himself plays in as well. He knows, he knows his own heart. He knows where his mind's at, and it really reflects. And because of the circumstances of losing his wife, how it can maybe show that, he appears to be bad boy or harsh, with a steely exterior, but there, like we just discussed, even with the bad boys that we see, that we don't see a totality of them being all bad. There's a layer, there's something deeper.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I always loved Thranduil's character, and a lot of women really like him. I mean, he's beautiful, but he has this nice confidence about him too. And also, we could talk about Elrond too. I thought Elrond, I mean, he was very attractive to a lot of women and a lot of men. And what was it about him? I mean, I remember that he was always spoken of very fondly by the hobbits and by others that knew him. He was so generous. He would actually allow weary travelers to come to Rivendell and heal. That is incredible. And I actually have I have a quote here from Hugo Weaving, who played him, and I do want to read this because I thought it was a really wonderful quote about what we're talking about. He said, "Having agreed to play Elrond, I realized how much had to be worked out about this character. The idea of portraying someone who is immortal, for one thing, plus the fact he is noble, wise, powerful, good, and beautiful. I began to think that he was altogether impossible to play." Well, I don't think it was impossible for him. I think he did an amazing job. I really do. I can't really see anybody else playing him.
No, I can't either. Anytime I hear the name, I immediately see Hugo Weaving's face.
He did such a great job. I mean, he kind of showed himself as like this noble, wise elf lord, and he would get like, you know, frustrated or exasperated by the hobbits, and you could see that in his face, and it was funny. But there was also this real warmth, this genuine warmth, and he really did portray an elf lord really well, who would have this magical realm of Rivendell that was so healing to people, that they can almost heal people who were on the brink of death. I mean, Elrond did the healing. It wasn't Arwen. I mean, Arwen definitely tried, and I think she kind of opened the channels for the healing. And I'll get more into that when I do my Elven healing video about that. And this is, of course, in the movie, because in the book it's Glorfindel. But when we don't see that, and I wish they would have added that in the book,
Yeah.
that, I mean, in the movie, to see Elrond heal him, that would have been really great to see. But Elrond did the healing. So if you have a man that's confident, noble, wise, good in character, and healing, well, hello, that's a gorgeous man.
Yes. Elrond, for me, I've always seen it almost the duality where the protectiveness that he exudes, that's the masculine side of him as an elf. But then with the healing and the nurturing, I see almost a feminine side to him.
But still masculine. It's like really a beautiful thing. It's like you don't see a woman elf when he heals. No. You see this like beautiful masculine man, also a healer. Yeah, it's great. Sorry, I like Elrond. Well, Legolas was my first love when I was, you know, younger. I saw him and I was like, oh, who's this? I mean, he's so, you know, really just kind of has this like stern exterior, but he's a good character. I mean, he's really good. And that's how it was with Tolkien. I mean, all of his characters were really good. And I know that there's a lot going on in this world where no one's good and things like that. And I know that they're characters, but when you can be authentic with certain moral standards that you really actually stick to, you protect your friends, you take care of the people around you, you are someone that would never take advantage of others, and you really have good intention towards others, that's a wonderful character to be. I mean, that's the definition of a good character, but also a good human. And I think that Legolas portrayed that so well, and especially that softness later on in the movie when he became friends with, you know, Gimli. I mean, that is like a beautiful type of softness and that vulnerability. Because, of course, you know, for eons, the elves and the dwarves were not getting along. And then here Legolas says, well, how about a friend? And, and your heart's just like, oh.
With Legolas, he was definitely my first love and still is. I just can't quite let him go.
So men, be as friendly, nice, protective, caring as Legolas, and there you go.
It's almost like he exuberates this innocence, but there's also an old soul. And there's just, you know, the friendliness, but the protectiveness, and it's all just, yeah.
Oh, that's very true. Because all the elves had that ability to be very young-like, but also they had this ancient soul in them, and you could see that in Legolas very much. So because I mean, Elrond was a much older elf, and you almost could see just the wise older elf in him, maybe middle-aged elf.
Yeah.
but because I know that Galadriel was actually his, his grandmother. So, so basically, or aunt.
Who? Elrond?
I think Galadriel is. Oh yes, Galadriel is Elrond's grandmother because she's the great grandmother of Arwen.
She's the Galadriel's the grand. She's the Arwen's grandmother because Elrond married her daughter Celebrion.
Oh, that's okay. Yes. Oh, you know what? You're right. Elrond is the nephew of Galadriel because I remember in a story. Um, wait, I think it was. I think it was actually. She has a quote that says that she's going to have her nephew Elrond actually, or was it? I can't think of what it was, but I think it was. I can't remember the relation right now. I'm having total brain block. But anyway, they are related, and so Galadriel's much older. Elrond is kind of the middle-aged elf, and then you have Legolas, who's the younger one. But they still always have that ancient soul, no matter what age they're at. And Legolas definitely had that, and Elrond has a little bit of that youthfulness too, and you see that in. What other character can we talk about? I'm trying to think. The other, well, hobbits. I mean, yes, the hobbits are a little bit more. They can be more stubborn in a way, and kind of like the dwarves. But still, Bilbo was a great one, and Frodo had that ability too. So not necessarily in the idea of. You see like a relationship, they didn't play like a lover archetype in the story. Mm-hmm. But of course, Frodo and Bilbo and all of the Hobbit men, Sam, they were good men, and that, they wouldn't take advantage of others. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's kind of the theme, and I hope people can kind of take a lesson with them, is that when you are a man or a woman, and you do not try to take advantage of others. You don't try to use them for what they can give you, but you're actually in a genuine relationship with someone, willing to have an open connection with them, or you're not, and you really have to make a decision for you. But, if you're not taking advantage of somebody and you're actually just being really genuine with somebody, that constitutes as a good person to me. And I think that is something that's so attractive. And you see that in all of Tolkien's characters. And even though some people would say, oh, they're just storybook characters and it doesn't matter, it's not real life. But as Tolkien said, that our world has little glimmers of truth, of God within this world. The idea of, if we have the collective consciousness, that's why I don't really throw anything out. And I try to find the truth and the falsehoods and stuff, because there's always glimmers of truth in myths and stories. And so these stories are kind of nearest to us of how we would like to be, or how we would love, to have a partner like. Mm-hmm. And Aragorn probably was very helpful to a lot of men or men who were trying to search for somebody that would love them with the devotion that he had for Arwen. And when I actually got into Lord of the Rings, that's what told me where I wanted to have that type of relationship, where I would have that relationship where, like you said, it's very loyal and very devoted, and could overcome any other temptation that would come to him. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we definitely talked a lot about our Tolkien men and Tolkien himself. I mean, he was a great man. Is there anything else that we can say about some of the things that are going on in society, and how we can just make sure that our men in our society today kind of take this message to, be real truth and to heart? Mm-hmm. Is there anything you would like to say?
What I would like to say mostly is just do your best to stay authentic to yourself. Take the time to really know who you are. to know where you are at on a spiritual level, and to treat, just to, as a blanket statement, just treat others how you want to be treated. And I know that's said a lot, but that's something that is just a really core belief for me. But don't allow society to place the labels on you. Just be your true authentic self, and don't be afraid to be a nice guy. we're proof we're proof that there are women out in the world that do like the nice guys.
Absolutely. I married a nice man. I really did. One of the things I can tell you that set him apart from some of my other relationships was that he didn't play games. And I think that's really invaluable to a person, is when they meet somebody and that person sees you as important to them to get to know, that they're not willing to play waiting 3 days or waiting 4 days type of game and making you wonder. My husband actually called me the next day and he's like, I want to take you out again. And so we made a date. And then after that, it was like almost every day we spoke. And that continued communication was so important for me, because it really showed me where he was in wanting to commit. I think that's so vital. Is just, if you really are looking for a relationship, if you're really looking for a true connection with someone, then you really have to be in that place of vulnerability. You actually can show you're ready. And don't be afraid of it, because the right person for you will really appreciate that a lot. And we can all learn from Aragorn and Legolas and all of the men Tolkien, to go after what it is that you want. And one of the things that I just want to say, I guess, before we leave, is don't ever push down your own needs, in the idea that if someone is not treating you the right way, make sure that you, as a nice man, does not stay in a relationship, or as a nice woman, does not stay in a relationship with somebody that does not treat you the same way that you would treat them or have treated them, and they just haven't really appreciated that. Because that actually should be a signal to you that they're just not at that same timing. They're not on the same vibration. They're definitely not on the same frequency of you, and they won't be able to appreciate you. And there is somebody else out there that will. And life is like that. You close one door, another door of opportunity will open. You can never think that, oh, I have this and I'm stuck with this. That's not true. There's always other opportunities, because we live in a multi-dimensional universe. So there's all points of experience that you can have. So anything else that we want to leave anybody off, I guess, with our elf talk? I don't see any chat, but I know that we were having some issues with chat before. So if you have any kind of comments and questions or anything like that below, definitely leave your comments and try to get back to you.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay. Well, this is an elf talk, and I think we're going to be doing this again next week, aren't we? We're going to be talking about our daily elven habits and what we do daily to make us feel more like an elf, or express ourselves, because, well, we are elves, are elven souls. So how do we actually express ourselves in that kind of way if we're not living in a treehouse, and actually living in Lothlorien? How do we actually express ourselves in a way where we can feel like we're being authentic to who we are daily?
Yes.
So we will definitely be back next Wednesday, I think at the same time. So we would love to be able to catch you then. All right, any last closing statements, Erulisse?
No, just that it was just a great time being here and being able to talk to all of you, and I hope to see you all next week.
You too. And I thank you so much for coming on. And it was always a pleasure to have you. But we're actually going to, I'm very excited because I told you today, I said, I'm going to have you regularly on so that we can have this talk and show, you know, different perspectives coming from Elven souls. And I think that it would be a lot of fun because I know that there's a lot of Elven souls kind of awakening, and maybe they just want to know that they're not alone in the way that they think. And kind of Tolkien lover, of course, will like to jump on because we love our Tolkien. So yeah, this has been a lot of fun. Definitely leave in the comments what you love about Tolkien's men and what you find, you know, really attractive in a nice guy. And nice out there, please know that you are on the right path. If you are actually truly genuinely nice, stay that way and just keep doing it, and you will attract the nice woman who can appreciate you for who you are. So, all right, everybody, head and play for watching, and I will see you all on the next video.
Goodbye. Namarie.
Namarie.